It's great to see you again. Thanks for joining us for a new edition of World Insight. As you know, each weekend we're here in our studios in Beijing, ready with the latest analysis on all the stories that have made the top news headlines over the past 7 days. This week, of course, is no different. I'm James Chan, Beijing. Let's go now to our first story. We're going to start off this 30-minute program that shows us just how much time has changed. When Timothy Geithner first came to China back in the 1980s, his job was to learn the language. But this week, when he returned as the US Treasury Secretary, he had more than just that and had much more work cut out for him.
Business is a lot like courtship. And the new US Treasury Secretary had sweet words for China.
And I think partly because of the strengths of the actions put in place by your government and by President Obama, we're starting to see some early signs of stabilization and recovery in the global economy.
Geithner tried to allay concerns with President Hu Jintao and Premier Wen Jiabao. It's a big change for the Treasury Secretary, who's well known for his attacks on China's foreign exchange policies. But now he says those policies have made remarkable changes over the past 2 years. Here's the explanation. China is by far the largest international holder of US debt. 768 billion US Treasury securities as of March, about 10% of America's publicly held debt. Still, some experts believe Treasury bills are a good investment.
Investing in U.S. Treasury bills is an important component of China's foreign currency reserve investments. This type of investment is comparatively safe as the U.S. financial market is the largest in the world and is highly liquid. China can profit from it while U.S. can get money support for its economic activities.
In March, U.S. Federal Reserve Chief Ben Bernanke made the bold decision to pump another $1 trillion into the economy. The Fed will spend up to $300 billion to buy long-term government bonds and an additional $750 billion worth of mortgage securities. In other words, the US is printing money to buy its government debt. China's concerns are centered around the risk that could weaken the value of US dollar-denominated assets.
If the $1 trillion is pumped into the money supply, the value of the dollar will fall. Those countries with US dollar reserves will suffer big losses. China's holdings will especially be threatened.
Chinese concerns go all the way to the top.
We lent such huge funds to the United States, and of course we are concerned about the security of our assets. And to speak truthfully, I'm a little bit worried.
The Congressional Budget Office says America's public debt, currently at 41% of GDP, could reach 100% without serious efforts to reverse the trend. And the US government deficit is projected to reach $1.75 trillion in the fiscal year ending September 30th. That's nearly $1.3 trillion more than last year. Washington's mushrooming deficit is generated by massive government borrowing to fuel its economic recovery plan. And experts have expressed concern that the ultra-loose monetary policy will undermine both the dollar and US bonds. Opinion is divided sharply over China's need to buy more US Treasury bonds.
The annual profit rate was about 6 to 7% before the financial crisis. Now it's fallen to 3%. Anyhow, the U.S. debt is still a relatively good way to invest. Every kind of investment has its risk. Buying U.S. debt is no exception.
So far this year, the greenback is down more than 10% against other currencies. The Bush administration vowed to keep strong dollar in the past years. But what's the result? If Geithner were to ask me to buy more, I'd tell him we have to answer to the Chinese people first.
Comments like that show Geithner, the Obama administration's point man on the economy, has a lot of convincing to do.
And we will do everything we can and everything that is necessary to try to make sure we're sustaining confidence in U.S. financial markets, financial assets, not just in the United States, but around the world.
Geithner's visit is the fourth of recent high-level U.S. delegations to China. The frequent senior-level meetings are drawing ties closer than ever before. And US officials no longer focus on currency rates and human rights records. In February, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton came to China and said it's essential for the two countries to have a positive cooperative relationship. Last week, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, came with the agenda focused on climate change. Last month, Obama named Utah Governor John Huntsman as the next ambassador to China. Huntsman speaks fluent Chinese and has an adopted Chinese daughter.
The move showed Washington's pragmatic attitude when seeking help from Beijing. The Obama administration needs China's support in more and more issues. The new administration is trying to set the tone for its new China policies.
In 2006, under George W. Bush, Beijing and Washington embarked upon the Strategic Economic Dialogue. Under Obama, that has been recast as the Strategic and Economic Dialogue. On April the 1st in London, the new mechanism was agreed at the first meeting between President Hu and President Obama. Biannual meetings will become annual and will encompass much more than trade. Groundbreaking progress can be measured by one little word.
First, we're going to elevate the importance of the strategic part of the dialogue to make sure that alongside a very strong set of interactions on the economic side, we want to strengthen the international financial institutions, give China a greater role in those institutions, reform them to make them more effective, give them a stronger financial capacity to reduce the risk of future crises.
Clinton will lead the U.S. delegation alongside Geithner. The first formal round of talks with their counterparts, Vice Premier Wang Qishan and State Councillor Dai Bingguo, will be held in Washington next month.
On economic issues, the U.S. and China need each other. The U.S. is China's largest consumer, and China is the largest holder of U.S. Treasury bonds. But on political issues, given the current situation of the world, the U.S. can't solve all the problems alone, even though it's a superpower. And China has increasingly rising influence on global issues. To some extent, the U.S. may need China more than China needs it.
Geithner studied Chinese during 2 summers in Beijing in the early 1980s. And now, he sums up the path of Sino-US relations with a Chinese phrase.
同心协力, working together in a concerted way to try to solve these basic problems.
Before Geithner, Hillary Clinton had also drawn on Chinese tradition as a guide. She said, when you are in a common boat, you need to cross the river peacefully together. And Huntsman is following suit.
I'm reminded of my favorite Chinese aphorism. It goes something like this. 互相帮忙,互相学习. Together we work, together we progress. This more than anything else, I think, captures the spirit of our journey going forward.
So let's list them out for you. The financial crisis, the DPRK nuclear issue, war and terror, and also climate change. For China and the US, a very broad agenda lies ahead. Together they work, and hopefully together they will progress. It's in everyone's interest for Beijing and Washington to pull together, but it will take more than just words to get that job done.